Welcome back to Ploughman's Backyard. My name is Kendra and today we're out in the garden. I cannot wait. As you can see, we got our tilling done. We've got our ground cloth covered. As most of you know, I don't typically plant until after the strawberry moon in June. This year, I can't believe it, it's June 21st. That's really late to start a garden. So I'm getting a head start and I'm planting the things that I know can handle the frost. So today my goal is to plant some beets, some rutabaga, some chard, and I'm even gonna get my onions in. They tend to do really well if I plant them early, and they don't really seem to mind if they get a little bit of frost. So those are the things that I think I'm gonna try and get in at this point. I'm gonna skip this year doing carrots because carrots just don't seem to be all that successful for me. There are years that I can grow really large carrots, really nice carrots, but most of the time it's kind of a waste of my time and my space. So I want to utilize my space as best as I can and grow the crops that I can grow. Since carrots you can usually get at a reasonable price, during the fall months. So that I think is going to be what I'm going to do this year. Deciding where to put your energy and your money is the best option when it comes to homesteading. You really need to watch your budget and watch what you do with your time. Time can get ahead of you really fast. As most of you know, we went away to New Brunswick for my brother-in-law's wedding, and that put us really behind in getting our garden prepped. But with all this beautiful weather we've been getting the last few days, we worked really hard at getting our gardens ready, getting the yard cleaned up, and just weeding even through the asparagus and the garlic, which is a big job. So I'm really happy that we had some good weather. Now that being said, we are supposed to get about 4 days of rain starting sometime tonight or tomorrow, which means it's a great time to plant plants or seeds. I always try to plant my seeds or my plants according to the weather, just because some years are not that great when it comes to our well having water. This year seems to be okay so far, but I still keep in mind when I do my planting, I try and gear it around the rain. That way I know they're getting a very good watering. So this year for chard, I'm going with the improved rainbow blend, my favorite. My daughter and I love this, so I'm going to be planting that in this row back here. Also going to be planting, I've got a couple different rutabagas here. I've got Laurentian. I'm just going to use up some old seed. And I've got Joan. We find that we love turnip and it freezes really well. We love to have mashed turnip or cubed turnip in the winter months. So the next thing I'm going to plant is some beets. I've got some early wonder here, some old seeds I'm going to use up. I've got some bull's blood, which is one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites is a Detroit red. Now these little seeds actually I want to talk about. They're Valley Green, a heirloom variety, but these I got at Giant Tiger and they were 3 for 99 cents when I got them. There's a good amount in here, so I want to see if these are good. I ended up getting probably about $6-7 worth of seeds. So I think I'm going to start off right here planting my rutabaga just because they grow so large. That's why I've got the larger holes here, and I tend to try to switch them up as best as I can. I used to do my turnip the last couple years over there, and it's time to switch them up. You always want to rotate where you're putting your crop because it cuts down on disease and it just cuts down on pests from coming in. So moving your crops from year to year or every couple years is a really good idea if you tend to grow the same things all the time. So that's one thing when you're homesteading, you really need to prioritize your time. So I like to set myself little goals. So today my goal was to plant these seeds, plant my onions, and that's kind of my big goal of the day. Yesterday was getting all the finishing touches done to the garden, finish up any tilling that needed to be done, and getting the ground cover on, and we did that as well. So I find sometimes if I set myself smaller goals, I'm less likely to push myself too much. In the past, I didn't do that. I used to just be like, I've got to get this and this and this done all in a certain amount of a time. And I would be working so hard that by the end of the day, there was nothing left. So when you're homesteading, that's one thing that I would really try to be cautious about. There's always going to be things to do, and there's always going to be a time restraint. You don't always need to push yourself. If it doesn't get done, it's okay. You want to make sure that you do have time for your family, do have time to also relax yourself, and just have some downtime. That's really important. It's one thing that, as you know, as a homesteader, and if you're not a homesteader or looking into it, make sure that you have time for yourself and your family. If you get burnt out, you're going to be no use to anyone, and you're not going to actually be able to do anything with the crops you're planting anyway, or even with the chickens. So make sure that even though there's so much to do and you have a time restraint, make sure that you put aside some time, especially for your family, because isn't that why we're doing this anyways? The nice thing about rutabaga, not so much maybe with the with the beets. You can do it with beets, but I don't find it to be as successful. But with the rutabaga, they transplant really well. So I usually plant about 2 or 3 in one little section here. And then if something didn't grow up over here, or if they all grew and germinated, you can actually take the little transplants and you can move them somewhere else. And then if none of them come up, then you can take one from the next one and put over, because sometimes you're going to get some that won't germinate at all, but they transplant really well. So I like to plant at least 2 or 3 in one of these sections. These ones are from William Dam Seeds, and they are Laurentian rutabaga. You want to put them far enough apart that you can transplant them if you need to. Now today is actually a really hot day. I want to say it's already, it's morning and I think it's already like 28. But you've got to go with what you have. And the nice thing about the really hot days is that there's not as many bugs. And if you wait till the cooler days or maybe an overcast day, then you're going to get rampacked with mosquitoes and such. So you've got to pick your battles. You want the heat or you want the bugs. Now, a lot of people I know wonder why I plant in this ground cloth. I do have 2 large gardens behind me where I do my corn and my squash, and then where I do my potatoes, and I don't use ground cloth for those. I can manage those. They're a bit smaller than these larger gardens here. I just didn't have the time to spend out weeding the garden, so I invested in these ground cloths, and I have never regretted putting that cost into the ground cloth. And you know what, if you can spare a little bit of time on your homestead, if there's a way that you can prevent being constantly outside in the garden, or you can dedicate a little bit more time somewhere else, then why not put that effort and that finance into it? Because even though there's a little bit of an up cost front, you're actually, by being out here constantly with the weeds, because trust me, it would be constant, you're sacrificing that time that you have with your family, or that if you want to go out and do some other things. Like, we love going fishing and we love going out to the beach, going swimming. There's things that we like to do. So this actually allows us to have the time to actually get off the homestead and to do some other things. And that's why I choose to do this. Now in this row here, I'm just going to be planting my improved rainbow Swiss chard. I got this large bag. It's a 1 ounce bag from High Mowing Seeds. So it's 30 days for baby, or 60 days for full size, which is perfect for our garden season. So I just love having them steamed, just cutting them up, having them steamed with a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of garlic, and a little bit of water. Just steam it lightly. They're really tasty that way. Love it. And my garden is a really good spot to go for seeds. I also really like High Mowing. One of our seed videos that I go through, and one of our lives that we did, I talk about all the different places that we go to purchase our seeds. Sometimes I do go to the store and just get some organic seeds from like Walmart, Cane Tire. This is an early wonder that I'm just trying to use up some of these seeds. It's not typically my favorite, but it is like 50 to 55 days compared to like a 60 or 65 day beet. So they do come a little bit earlier. And I love not just eating the beets because they're really high in iron and things, but also really like the tops of the beets to put into salad or to add to my my Swiss chard when I'm doing my steaming. So you can use the whole beet. I like eating them steamed, like the beets. I usually put them in an Instapot. We have a video on that, how easy they are to do, especially if you're canning beets. I love having canned beets as well. Pickled beets are really nice. The other thing is you can juice beets, and you can also eat them raw if you cut them up into like a julienne style and add a little bit of oil, lemon, some seasoning. It's really good like raw beet salad as well. So there's multiple ways to get that nice nutrition from the beets into your body and without wasting any part of the beet at all. So this one here is the Detroit Red we're going to use up, and I'm going to try out the 33-cent that I got from Giant Tiger. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll plant these ones at the very end, so I specifically know where I put these just to see how well they work out. I also have a really nice video actually on how to pickle some beets. You can do it with vinegar or you can do it with lemon. Both are delicious ways of doing it. And and really super easy, especially since beets, if you're boiling them, they can kind of cause a mess. You get a lot of red beet dye all over the place if you're boiling them, but the Instapot is really the simplest way to do it. No matter how many times you garden in the same spot, you always still have rocks. My husband tells me to stop planting my baby rocks because we still get big ones. You might be wondering where you can get this awesome shirt I'm wearing. Well, this is one of our own logo t-shirts you can get from our merch store at www.ploughmansbackyard.com. Go check it out. We have a lot of other t-shirts on homesteading, homesteading mamas, things on chickens. We also have some things on seeds. So we got some seed journals where you can just a little booklet where you can keep track of everything. That's one thing that I'm doing here is before I came out, I marked down the date, I marked down what I was planting today and which rows I was planting so that I keep track literally of everything that I'm planting until the time that I harvest, and just writing down the success or failures that I've had so the next year can be easier. And every year I do go back and look at the previous years. Just like this morning I got up and I'm like, okay, what did I plant around this time last year? How did they grow? Should I wait a bit? Should I do it a little bit early? And I usually go back 2 or 3 years just to see if there's a pattern. So it's a good way of checking things out and keeping track. So go ahead over to www.ploughmansbackyard.com. All right, so I'm just going to give these a once over with water, and then we'll just wait for the rain to come tonight or tomorrow and give it a thorough watering. The last and final thing that I'm going to be planting today is my onions. I just went to, I think it was No Frills. I got these. They're not a bad price. You get quite a bit in them. And I'm going to be planting some yellow onions, some red onions, and some shallots. So I'm going to be planting them just in this row here. There's some on the side here, and then if there's remaining, I might put some behind me. I do find that honestly, like, these things last quite a long time. So they come and they're just little tiny baby onions. And when we harvest ours, like, I'm still using them into February and March sometimes. So they last quite a long time in the house. They store really well and they grow really well here. So I just continue growing these. And then I also grow bunching onions, which I have some started that I started, I want to say sometime in March or April in the house that I'll be bringing out to transplant as well. But so far today, this is kind of the last thing that I'm going to be doing. Still got a lot more to do, so stick around for some more planting garden video vlogs, and we'll see you on the next video.